This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
This is Everything Elite, the world's best podcast devoted exclusively to All Elite Wrestling and the Elite Extended Universe. I've had a long fucking day, so I'm trying to find the energy. I'm trying to wring it out of this show. I'm joined, let's see, by a man I hope has a lot of energy tonight. It's Nate. Nate, do you have energy? Can you bring some energy to the show?
I think I have pretty good energy.
Yes.
It might be the type of energy that peaks in about 22 to 25 minutes. So we'll have to rely on Mike to hold up the end of the show. But for the time being, I'm here mostly because that AEW episode of Dynamite, it got me fired up, Aaron.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that, except that it didn't get me fired. Well, the ending got me fired up. So
ending is the only thing that matters. The only thing people remember.
I knew you were going to say that. Mike, where's your energy at? I know we have the Mike mental health meter in the background.
Yeah.
But where's the Mike energy meter?
Well, hey y'all, it's your old pal Iron Mike Spears. So it's been storming really bad. Like we're actually are under a freeze warning because of like this weird storm that's happening now fully in spring. So the thing about that is that the dog doesn't care, but I'm stuck indoors. I'm like, I can't take you out for like a good walk, because that's how you kind of tire out Labradoodles, is you make sure they get a good amount of exercise. So I'm pretty tired, but I am fired up because of the show, just because I've been finding other ways to get the pup some exercise today. But I have a very divergent opinions on this episode from like hour 1 to hour 2, quarter 1 to quarter 8, and I'm interested to hear what y'all's overall takes were on this episode, because I felt like this was kind of a very uneven episode of Dynamite, but that also is something that when we get into it might be my personal taste, though.
It's all our personal taste, I think, Mike. I think that's what the listeners are here for.
Now I provide objective point of view on this show. I just bring the facts, the hard data, the empirical opinion on pro wrestling. So you guys, that's why you guys are here to bring the subjective opinions. I'm here to bring the facts.
Thank you, Thoros. I will be burning my all energy on this show. Just to be
I will
clear.
be burning my dread.
I'll be keeping the full throttle and feeling the best.
It is a max voltage year.
None of us have dreads. I just want to be clear.
Yeah, no, I went out. That was a Persona reference for some reason. Thinking of other nonsensical Japanese English phrases.
Sure. I like that. All right. We're on Twitter at Everything AEW. Make sure you follow us there.
An appropriate level of malaise. We are on Twitter.
I feel like we get a lot of thanks to Nate. Although Mike, you were doing some tweets tonight too. I feel like we get a lot of engagement during Dynamite.
It really, so much of like enjoying and watching wrestling is like whatever I bring to it. So sometimes, like this episode, I jumped right in. It was like, oh, I have takes. I have tweets to make. And other ones, I'm like 90 minutes in. I'm like, oh, I didn't tweet one time just because I didn't have the energy to reach over and pick up my phone.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And to be fair, Nate and I, we have two completely different veins when we tweet about the show. So I don't even know why we even sign our tweets, because I feel like that at this point, people could tell what's a Nate tweet and what's a Mike tweet, just also because I just fire off. I don't use grammar. I don't capitalize. I just fire things off there. So.
Mike plays it very cool. It is important to me that we sign it because I don't want us to end up in a Richard Festival.
Sure. That's fair. That's fair.
I don't really do tweets from the Everything AEW account. I don't know. I feel like you guys got it handled pretty much.
I would be annoyed with your tone if you brought it on the official account. Like sure. For the first match, I'd be like, Aaron, shut the fuck up.
I know. So I just let it go.
Yeah, I think it's better. It has better context on your own timeline.
I mostly don't tweet during the. I only tweet during the show if something annoys me.
To complain about something.
By that I mean if someone else's tweets about Dynamite annoy me. That's when I tweet, basically.
Well, that's what Twitter is for. It's a big manufacturer of annoyance and reactions to annoyance and reactions to reactions, and then backlash to reactions, and drill.
Speaking of backlash, show kicked off with an a WWE backlash ass match. So
Thank you. Give me my quarter.
I will.
Give me my quarter.
I just was able to tie it all in. That's the magic. You find things that other people say, but you tie it in. Okay. Oh, Twitter, right. I'm at Aaron Like the Car. That's where I do my grumpy tweets about things that piss me off. Who else is on the show? Nate is at Epitasis. Mike is at Fuji. Subscribe to the podcast, please. Can't you tell we're hurting? Give us a 5-star rating and review if you use the Apple Podcasts app. And if you want to support the show, there's several ways you're going to find out on tonight's show to do so. But a great way is to go to patreon.com/everythingelite and subscribe. It's by the time you're hearing this, unless you're a live listener, it's going to be April 1. It's going to be time to sign up, get a big month. Well, I'll tell you later what's coming up in April. Okay, let's kick off the show. Elite or delete? Nate, what did you think was the best thing on this show tonight?
Well, for the second consecutive week, I was pretty sure that I was going to come on the show and put over the Lucha Trios match that AEW has really found a great spot for, smack dab in the middle of their show, where the Lucha Brothers and their sometimes sidekick Laredo Kid just go out and tear the house down and do exciting things and make people happy and have fun with pro wrestling. But no, once again, I was surprised to see that the main event took the top spot for me. The main event players, the main event in general as an abstract idea, showing up in the big spot and delivering in the main event. This was like a plunder match, hardcore match. There were no particular spots in the match that were like especially cool. You know, they didn't have like the real visceral violence and gritty different word for violence, gritty brawling of like the parking lot match. They instead like had a bunch of set dressing with arcade machines that weren't used at all, and then just like used chairs and ringside barriers and stuff. But the absolutely just super fun overbooking of the match, having Chris Statlander emerge from a UFO catcher machine to make her big return, and then having Sue drive Trent back to the arena in her van to come and really give the best friends the numbers advantage, because they win with friendship. They're good friends, nice boys and a girl who love each other. Just a great babyface victory in the main event spot. Those two returns from injury are like maybe two of the best ever conceptualized and shot returns from injury. Like just very ingenious and pulled off excellently, and they happened within like 2 minutes of each other. So that was awesome. And then the best friends went and won and did a big group hug. And I know I was not the only person. I saw people on Twitter. I got a text message. Some people getting pretty verklempt. We talked on the Patreon about crying this week. Getting verklempt for that big best friends win, overcoming the evil Kip and Miro, and putting the cap on a very strong episode of Dynamite IMO.
I already kind of said, like, I and two completely different opinions on Dynamite. I feel like the first hour had some wrestling and then had some awesome angles, and then the second hour I felt like really put it all together. But this match, I'm glad you brought up the fact that like this is a completely different style match of the parking lot brawl. This one was a set piece match, and to be quite honest, like the way it kind of like started off and some of the plunder stuff to begin with, it felt relatively tame. And then immediately we got #sneaky plunder worker Dustin out there deciding to really show us all the truth that life is pain, and taking a barricade backdrop or a suplex on the barricade that was absolutely gnarly. And they found a good way to build up the catharsis of the reveals and the returns and the alliance between Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, and Trent with Chris Statlander, who I guess now is a best friend as well. But they were able to like set up like these like powerful and brutal like spots. And we've talked about the returns about this. I would think that Miro was the glue to this match in a lot of ways, because Miro looked like a badass doing cool things, and then Miro also ate shit at the right time when Trent came out with Sue and came out of the minivan. By the way, Trent, they are getting the mileage out of the double denim, that I have to say. Like, I approve of the fact that they kept on bringing out double denim for big occasions here. And just the way that Miro was getting just getting formed in the head, and the way that Miro sold, it was like a really good, like, old territory style heel eating shit and leading right into the finish. And it just was it was a match that completely different from the parking lot brawl, but had very similar catharsis. And then like the camera work on tonight was really solid, but also if you have a show in the can, you should be able to pick the best shots that you want to use. But like having the crane shot of all of Best Friends giving the thumbs up to Sue in the minivan with Pixies playing in the background really felt like an 80s teen movie in a good way.
Yeah, I think you guys covered it. I would just say I'll talk later about the shit I didn't like on this show, but it's like this to me is like good wrestling for television. Of like, it's fun, there's stuff happening, it's letting me just like have a good time watching it, and plus they like had some little prizes for me thrown in there with Chris Stat's comeback, which they did a great job with Chris Stat's return, because like every now and then somebody will either in a DM or on Twitter or in the Discord be like, oh, should be pretty close to when like Statlander should be back, but they never really dropped anything. At least I didn't notice it if they did. To make me like be on the lookout each week for her. So it was a genuine surprise. So kudos.
And they played on it well, because it was a surprise, but not a like illogical one. It was like, oh, she's probably due back, so that makes sense. That's awesome. She's here. That was an inventive way to bring her back. But Trent genuinely had no expectation. I thought he was going to be gone for much longer. I haven't like looked at the calendar, but I was like, oh, it's going to be at least another 3 months or something before Trent comes back. But got them both in the same night and just ratcheted up my excitement, from one level to an entire another level that I wasn't expecting. I did on the subject of camera work. There was the extremely fake looking Mortal Kombat cabinet in this match, which it's kind of the story of professional wrestling, is that like when your promotion's hot, stuff that shouldn't work works and enhances your product, and when your promotion's cold, then the mistakes stick out like a sore thumb. And on this show, which was hot, when they pulled out the just extremely goofy looking fake Mortal Kombat cabinet, because they obviously weren't going to smash any real ones, or that became obvious halfway through the match anyway. It was just like, okay, it's actually good to me that this stupid arcade cabinet looks so fake, just because this is, going so smooth.
All right, Mike, your elite pick for this week.
I gotta say, I've thoroughly enjoyed both in a skill category, but also just like a what are we doing in this world capacity. The idea that the trios match was my favorite thing on the show other than the main event, but which shouldn't surprise anyone who's used to listening to me. But Doc Gallows and Laredo Kid having a very long, like slowed down beatdown where Doc Gallows was getting to shine on Laredo Kid for what felt like a good solid 4 to 5 minutes. It went completely through a commercial break. And just like the idea of like Laredo Kid, I guess overall is my elite, because he was the glue in this match. He looked like an absolute star in this, and it's something that we kind of have to go back to 2019 when everyone's like, oh yeah, Laredo Kid's going to be here, he's going to be a big star, he's going to be like the big breakout AAA star that's going to come aboard here. And now he's here having really exciting matches with Doc Gallows, who now wears a onesie, which will never get old to me. Like his like full bodysuit, like Elvis get up, just cracks me up. And just like overall, like this match, like you had that, and then it went right into a sprint section where Laredo Kid did probably the most damaging tope suicida that I've ever seen in my life, where I was just like, God, you basically just decided like partway through that you're going to do a rotation, and instead you look like that you're just like dive bombing them. And then the finishing stretch was great, and now we kind of have this idea that now Kenny and the Good Brothers are done with the Lucha Bros and Laredo Kid, but now they are moving over to having matches with the Young Bucks and John Moxley because of how that storyline's moving on. And it's a nice little thing that they've kind of kept as like the 9 o'clock hour thing for the last few weeks. And I kind of like the idea of this second hour trios match kicking off the second hour of the show. And, you know, I had a great time, and I want to watch now. Like, I will get into the opener later, but give me a 15-minute Doc Gallows versus Laredo Kid match, because I would be fascinated of what could come from that.
Yeah, didn't really talk about it on the show last week, but Laredo Kid's been great in his appearances in this company so far, especially over the last couple of weeks. Him going just straight up vertical for what seemed like way too long an amount of time on that dive was awesome. And I guess I have to presume they made the decision like, okay, you know, Penta and Phoenix, maybe they're not pushed as top guys here, but they're established in AEW, whereas Laredo Kid is newer. So they gave him the whole ass pinfall last week, and then they had him in the closing stretch here with Kenny Omega in Crunch Time. And yeah, everything he does looks awesome. Very exciting trios match that carried the middle of the show. Also very funny to me, Cubs on Twitter said that AAA is just not acknowledging that MLW had Laredo Kid drop the AAA Cruiserweight title to Leo Rush, which is it's very funny to me that MLW is just fully non-canon in pro wrestling now. Their contract is non-canon and have been non-canon, and now their wins and losses don't count either. So that's a remarkable achievement in stink. I do the post-match angle. I think maybe it would have worked better for me if there had been a crowd to react to mostly John Moxley, because, you know, Moxley always got big reactions with AEW crowds and has been pushed as a protected and top guy very well in this company. So I kind of feel like him allying with the Young Bucks to set up this big showdown with the Young Bucks and their best friend Kenny Omega should have felt like a really epic, you know, stare down to lead to a big match for next week. It just kind of didn't feel that way for me, because I was like, well, you're not going to do better than fucking the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid. So my expectations are tempered, because whatever comes after this match is going to be a step down from this match.
Yes, that's true. Honestly, my favorite takeaway that you all haven't talked about yet was just what Laredo Kid's entrance gear, like his whole setup when he came out. I was like, oh, this guy looks fucking cool. That was basically it. My elite pick of the week, I don't know. You guys have hit probably the best stuff from the show, but I'll just say the first thing that I had fun watching on the show was the Nightmare Family Red and Black segment, where you know, some part of the Nightmare Family split off. You know, you never know if you're seeing the Nightmare Factory, the Nightmare Family, or the Nightmare Collective. And here, I don't know what this faction is going to be.
Only going to get more confusing now.
Yes, but the Nightmares, the new Nightmares, maybe. This was fun, largely because I've been wondering. It's kind of like been on the back burner of like, when is Anthony Ogogo going to do something physical in this promotion? We've had him on commentary on Dark, but he was built up as like a big signing. We saw some hype videos for him. I guess the talk was that he would be the heavy in the inner circle, but it didn't work out that way. So it's like, oh, well, when is this guy gonna do something? I was literally thinking it before the show tonight. Just, I don't know why, but you know, as you do, just sit around thinking about Anthony Ogogo. And so I was very excited when he was involved in this. They're beating up Cody. That's cool. You know, Red Velvet gets involved, so that mixes into the Red Velvet Jade thing. So I don't know. I thought this little angle was cool.
Yeah, I was kind of down on the big QT angle and push from last week. I mean, I wasn't as down on it as a lot of people, because I know that QT has I think, potential to be an effective heel. But this did, I think, turn me around on it. I'm not entirely sure why. The involvement of Mr. Freak Beast is a big factor because he's huge. He wears pants like he was in a mental hospital or whatever, and they had to secure him to the bed. So those are over with me. Um, I think the Anthony Ogogo getting the special shine to be like, I'm going to punch you one time with my boxing shots and you're going to sell like death. That was very effective to me. I don't know. I don't know what angle it was from my childhood that I saw where they had some boxer come in and they were, talking up his punches like they were death. Like, oh, he could, kill a guy with a right cross or something. But I just felt very old school in a pleasant way to me. And hey, I get pile drivers on stairs. That's pretty cool. Dustin bleeds, of course. So yeah, just the sum of all these different little factors that they did to actually make the angle work and seem different. And they kind of did a similar thing with the heel beatdown with the inner circle. They just had enough cool spot ideas that I was like, yeah, okay, that was fucking cool.
And it's something where I like the idea that there's like 7 different heel units at this point now. Like it's pretty much like just like everyone kind of just dislikes everyone, which is very amusing. Everyone has to be in a group, but it's something where like the match itself was like kind of what it was. And then you had like the big shock with Arn getting socked in the face, and then just like the complete just like sell job of QT first of just being like, I can't believe I did this. I need space. I got too heated there. And then slowly like revealing Mr. Freak Beast, Aaron Solo, and Anthony Ogogo as affiliated with them. And of course, you got the blood in the right place. I mean, there's few people right now active in wrestling who aren't deathmatch workers who are as good bleeders as Dustin Rhodes. So, he made sure to get the side of his face without face paint covered in blood, and then you had QT wipe it on Solo's chest, which is great image. And this is something where I find it all very interesting where this all can go to, because you look at this this Apple family, as I'm going to call them right now. I don't think that's a good phrase.
I pitched a name on our Twitter account. I did a poll.
What is it?
Did you guys see the poll?
No, I did not see the poll.
I haven't seen the poll.
Well, I asked who everybody's who everybody's favorite new heel unit was. It was the Pinnacle.
I did see this, actually. I'm sorry.
And QT and the Bad Apples.
QT and the Bad Apples.
I like that.
That sounds like a cover band of Sha Na Na. Does that age me saying that? But anyways, it's something
you usually have to subscribe to the Patreon to get Mike's mouth sound. So that was a bonus for our free listeners.
that was what we call an inducement. We're trying to kind of get people into
if that doesn't bring them in, I don't know what will.
I mean, eventually we'll have to show feet. But the thing that like I find very remarkable about all these heel units are like you have like each of these units needs to have a mic worker, which I guess is QT as like the functional leader, MJF as well, and then you have to have a heater, which I mean they have 2 heaters, which is great because you have both Mr. Freak Beast and Olympic bronze medalist Anthony Ogogo. And then you have Aaron Solo around here. And like the one thing I was like wondering about this was what would happen if like Jade came out and just kicked Red Velvet's ass there and not backstage. Like that could have been like then QT and the Bad Apples. That is like a main event heel unit just by adding in Jade. And Jade could be the person doing promos. I mean, we don't have to go through what we went through last week. And it just all in all, I felt like it was it took something that I just wasn't really enthusiastic about, and coming off of a half hour where I was just kind of like, okay, this is just kind of going through the motions. And, then they just had a whole bunch of just crazy angles and it started from there. And it kind of built to where the matches finally kind of picked up to kind of uphold that in the bargain into what ended up being a fun episode.
I did see your tweet, Nate, about something. Fuck, I had this thought before I started talking. I was like, I'll remember it if I just start talking, which is always a dangerous thing to do. But you did a good tweet. How about that?
Do you want me to just name some of my tweets recently?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I tweeted about the Hatsune Miku gamer chair, so that was on there.
I'm talking about from the Everything AEW Twitter account.
Okay.
It had to be related to what we were talking about, you would think, but I could just go look at the feed. But maybe I'll think of it. So let's hit the listener elite. Gosh Punk, new patron. Gosh Punk. Hey, I'm very simple. You join our Patreon and our Discord, I'll probably include you in the listener elites and deletes. Gosh Punk says elite, the Inner Circle bathroom reveal, followed up by friend of the show and patron Oatgan saying, I missed whatever this was, so please don't talk about it on the show. So this is the only info I have.
All right. Just going to leave it there.
Yeah.
It was good.
It was good. But what you shouldn't leave there is your money in your wallet, folks. You should take it over to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code ELITE to get yourself a big deposit bonus up to $1,000. And shoot your shot. Score big on nonstop action over with our friends at MyBookie. I think it's the Final Four. That's what I've been led to believe is occurring.
I have a question as someone that my NCAA bracket is the truth. I've only watched 4 Miami basketball games this year. Do they just basically do away with the idea of you play Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday?
Yeah, that's over.
This?
Yeah, they did.
That's over.
They did a different schedule this year, and apparently,
Makes sense.
The highest rate. We haven't done ratings talk in a while. Apparently, the highest ratings they've had in years. So they're going to stick with whatever this new thing is. But you can bet on those games over at MyBookie. They are actually, I think this is for tomorrow. So you will still be able to do this after you hear this. But they were running a thing where you could bet up to $25 on, I forget what the game is, Rockies Dodgers maybe.
Yeah, I think Rockies Dodgers.
But the bet is if anybody scores, you win. And baseball can't go to a tie, so you will win the bet. So I think it's plus 100. So.
Yeah, and it was up to $25 bet, I believe, and it was technically an over-under of a half.
Right.
A half a run, which is impossible to have in the sport of baseball, even if it's a forfeit.
Yeah, so go bet on that. Sign up, use the promo code ELITE, get a $1,000 bonus. Baseball's obviously getting ready to start. NBA's still going on. Hockey and the Final Four, as I said. So plenty of stuff to bet on. So head over to MyBookie today. Now for the deletes. Nate, what was something you really didn't like from the show?
Ethan Page. They put him in tag team. I'm going to call them the Bitter Boys Uncensored because they took Scorpio Sky out of his tag team, which he was a champion with Kaz. They broke that up, I presume, because they were going to get behind Scorpio Sky for this big face push. They never really gave him a chance to succeed. So I kind of understand his complaint. They gave him like the most wins in AEW Dark history and then had him on maybe one Dynamite match at the fucking end of that. So nobody saw him to see if they wanted to get behind him or not. They turned him heel when he was off TV, won a ladder match, lost the title match following that up. So, I kind of understand Scorpio Sky's angle for, hey, I'm an AEW original. This is a thing now, apparently. And I've been overlooked. I haven't gotten the opportunities. Ethan Page has been in this promotion for less than a month, I think. We saw him on the pay-per-view. He had one, I think, match on Dynamite. Pretty sure he appeared on YouTube a few times, other than his vlog. And he is already doing an I'm overlooked and I'm undervalued and the office is against me and I'm annoying angle. And it doesn't make sense in kayfabe, again, because he's literally just not been there long enough to do anything. He won his one television match. And that, was like 2 weeks ago. So what's the fucking problem? And it's just also annoying and obnoxious, and I don't like watching him. He's bad to me, and this angle is just like, oh, you thought this guy was bad for this reason? Well, guess what? You're exactly right, and we're gonna harp on that and just cram it down your throat.
And it's something where his one Dynamite match was the one that had the weird audio bleed from the NBA game, where it was like him and Lee Johnson where like defense was starting to play. So like if he wanted to like go on that, like that would have to like admit like we had a production mess up, but there would have been at least some rationale there. But it's just something where it's and Nate, when we get into my delete, we'll talk about someone else who big debut and they've completely marginalized them since then. But it's something that like it's like Ethan Page in this company is something where I was more interested with him as a tag team wrestler with Josh Alexander, but Josh Alexander did not leave Impact.
That's just because Josh Alexander is like good. So
you're you're
interested in Ethan Page as a tag team wrestler with Josh Alexander just because Josh Alexander's like good. You're not actually interested in Ethan Page as a tag wrestler with anybody else. Just because
I like Monster Mafia, yeah,
and that's just you like Josh Alexander is the truth of that statement.
I mean, I have also gone in there and said I like how angry this will make people, and that'll make me laugh, and it started. So, but yeah, no, like this was just like a real abrupt thing, and I'm like, okay, you're going to go against the Seidel brothers on Monday night, and my one big takeaway was, I think they should have the Seidel brothers win this match. Like you got to give the Yoga Monster some love here. Come on.
I think this team should be set up exclusively to job to the team of Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss to be like, you know what, we were minimized even though we were with this company from day one, and we just kept working and worked together and did our best to do better. And they're going to strive for the top, and they should just beat Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page and be like, yeah, shut up, do the work.
To me, it's the best case scenario. Ethan Page is in this company, but they're just setting up matches for him on YouTube that I don't have to watch. So that's fine with me. I mean, yeah, it's annoying as shit, but it's like annoying for 90 seconds on an episode of Dynamite instead of full matches and stuff.
It's that annoyance where, I don't know if you guys may not have this experience. Sometimes I'll have an annoying person I have to associate with at work for work reasons, and they'll send me an email, and their email will have all the information I need to react and do my job accordingly. And as soon as the email hits my inbox, I'll look at it and say, this motherfucker is going to fucking call me and tell me they sent me an email. And I look at it, and then 15 seconds later my phone rings and I fucking flip out and lose my mind. Then I have to pick up the phone and put a smile on, be like, hey, yeah, what's up? Oh, you sent me an email? Okay, yeah, great. Oh, you're going to read what you said in the email to me on the phone? That's fantastic. That, to me, is Ethan Page showing up in this company and 2 weeks later saying, I'm upset about my spot.
It's something where, like, my version of that was always has, like, please advise, warmest regards, and it would be, like, doing this thing. I'm like, no, you're sending me a shot list because of what you want for footage, and then you're going to try to ask me to find footage of Ponce de Leon landing in Florida when that was 400 years before the invention of the moving image camera. Yes, no. There was a time period when I was at the archive I worked at that they said, Mike, we don't want you to handle client requests because you will just say, because you'll say things to people and you'll be like, no, like that footage doesn't exist. You understand time frames? And you'll be mean. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that, Nate. I just thought like I was honoring to the point, though. I don't feel like I was wrong.
I say please advise all the time because I want them to advise me on what I said.
That's fair. That's fair.
I get so irritated myself when I'm writing something for work and I'm writing like a brief and I'm like, blah, blah, advised, blah, blah, that. And I'm like, no, fucking nobody advises anybody of anything.
I think advise is a fine word to use.
I mean, you counsel.
I don't like it. It sounds like, please advise is lawyer shit, but like somebody advise somebody something is cop shit for sure.
I mean, that's when you're asking to speak to your counselor.
So yeah, when cops say somebody advised, they're just saying the dumb guy version of somebody apprised someone else of a situation.
Fucking, I love
that's what's happening. That's so like
funny.
That's like Blade on BTE saying, "Oh, that perks my interest." It's just missing that the word is peaks.
Yes, I'm sure it is. That's funny.
I've actually used perks I've used perks my interest before. but I also used to say hand five instead of high five. So what do I know?
Well, you are the idiom master of the show, so
Yes, that's true.
No, I'm not. I'm just really dumb. So I hear something in the distance, Aaron, and something coming in from a flyby, and that's right.
Is it coming from Boston, Massachusetts?
I don't
he
get
was
that.
like New Hampshire or something. I think he's like
I don't know.
even more northeast than Boston.
I don't know.
But no, I'm aboard the Takecopter today. And what I am aboard the Takecopter about is, Nate, you talked about how they marginalize Ethan Page within the ever since Revolution, basically. They treat him like a big deal, and now he's 90 seconds on Dynamite talking about a match he's having on the C show that they're going to sell into international syndication, right? Like, that's something that they've done. But I have never seen someone, and this is a wrestler that as in my childhood and all of this, like, I've never seen someone be marginalized after being treated like such a big deal as Christian. And it's something where I had to like take a step back and look through my notes to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Like, they treated like Christian was like this huge deal that only No More BS Paul White and Tony Khan knew about. They announced him at the pay-per-view. They did like a big thing about him signing the contract. Then on Wednesday after the pay-per-view, he was immediately thrown into an angle with Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion. And now his first match was a 20-minute 2004 backlash ass match with Frankie Kazarian, where like the storyline is like, wow, this guy is really rusty. He's not had a real match in 7 years. Like, how are people supposed to now even care about when a star comes in and you treat a star like a big deal when you've completely within less than a month have made Christian into someone that like you built him up as like this huge star. You built up these expectations. You had him in his first angle be with Kenny Omega. That's completely dropped off, by the way. You had him in this opener where I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that Frankie Kazarian, primarily a tag team wrestler, took about 70% of that match. Like, how if you're someone that's like, oh, Christian's here, that it's a big thing, Christian's here, and you see that match, like, how are you supposed to take away if anything other than LOL, Christian is old and he can't beat people, like, in short order? Like, it just kind of came off like that. And that's not even getting to the match itself, which I don't think it was that great of a match. I think that a lot of people are acting like technical people doing technical matches is a great thing versus just going through the motions and eating up time and making boring wrestling. That's my own personal taste, though. But am I completely off base in thinking like how marginalized they've made Christian over the last month? Because it's kind of driving me nuts in a way, and it kind of piqued my interest. And I try to make sure to say that right there, Nate. I'm proud of myself there.
Appreciate it.
But it's just kind of nuts. Like, am I crazy about this? Like, is this something that I'm just fixating on?
Is the match your delete, Aaron?
Kind of. There's a mixture of things. I've got a bigger take to do.
Okay.
You can talk about the match if you want.
Okay. So I think I don't want to complain about them course correcting with Christian, because I think that was probably well advised. He came out and did the Kenny Omega angle. You're for sure correct about that. They put him on pay-per-view and talked about how he would say should be a Hall of Famer. And then 2 weeks later it was, I'm hanging out with the jobbers in the back. I'm showing that I'm a good guy here to do the work. Now I'm getting into this story with Kaz. I feel like the Kaz thing is a reaction to people feeling like he was overpushed when he first came back. So I don't really want to be like, oh, you should have stuck with the Kenny Omega angle and gone and done that dream match, because I don't know. I feel like they weren't getting the reaction they wanted for that. So I think the course correction is okay. On the subject of the match, I mean, I think it was pretty good. I think, I say this every week about almost every match. It could have been 5 minutes shorter and it would have been better for it. They go and do, like you said, Kaz takes 70% of the match and gets all his shit in. He does all of his finishers. And what makes a good match to a lot of people is that Christian kicks out of all the finishers and keeps fighting, and they go really long, and Christian ends up getting the win. That doesn't necessarily make a good match to me, but I did watch it and I went, oh yeah, no, you can kind of see the technical details that Christian does that other guys in this company don't necessarily do. And I think that one of the things I've always liked about New Japan is those Young Lion matches. You put on those very basic, structurally sound Young Lion matches at the beginning of the show, and that sets sort of a baseline or a foundation for your whole show and goes, here's what wrestling looks like in its most basic, simple form. Here's the old school shit. Here's the really tight headlocks like Christian does, and the long and prolonged selling. Here's all that shit. And then as the show continues, you go bigger and crazier and have guys doing more insane spots, and you have Lucha Trios matches and stuff. And I think that's great because that makes that Lucha Trios match stand out and look like insane shit better than having the Lucha Trios match come right after the Kenny Omega match in the first quarter hour of the show. So yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I don't mind them course correcting on Christian. I do, they do drop threads a fair amount in the promotion, and that's annoying. So I think you're right about that. But I'm fine, like not paying the closest attention to the show for the first 5 minutes, and then getting in for the closing stretch and being like, oh yeah, it seems like they worked really hard. That was pretty good.
I think it's germane, so I'll just go ahead and I'll just work in my delete into.
What I was trying to do. I was trying to just give you the.
I like that. I appreciate that. My delete is this was actually a Tony Schiavone line during the QT Cody match, and I really like Tony Schiavone, but he said, "This is great technical wrestling from two great technical wrestlers." And it's like when people say that, like, "Oh, this was really technically sound. This was really well worked. I really like the work they did there." What they're really saying is this is fucking boring and nobody has any real interest in it. So I have to pretend that I'm actually smarter than you about pro wrestling. I actually know what's good pro wrestling, and all you know is like flips and shit. That's all you care about, you fucking dumbass.
Well, that is what all I care about, to be fair.
Me too.
So, but like you like Zack Sabre matches in Evolve,
right? Yeah.
I do, but Zack Sabre also has interesting character work in his matches. He doesn't just do cool moves, but like cool technical moves. But that's actually technical wrestling. What Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall do is not technical wrestling on any level. And what Christian and Frankie Kazarian did was not technical wrestling on any level. It's just like boring performance center shit. That's like, here's the thing.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, if you're going to do a 20-minute match, it needs to be much more exciting than that, especially to open a television show. I just think there's a big difference between an opening television match and any television match versus something you might do somewhere else. For example, on a pay-per-view, which I wouldn't want to do this on a pay-per-view either, but there are different types of matches in different scenarios. This was a bad time, which I think, Nate, you were saying, this was a bad time to do this match. But overall...
No. I was saying this is a good time to do this match.
Oh, okay. Well, then I disagree.
But my theory being, like the Young Lion matches, you're kind of right in that it is a television match, so it's a totally different equation. But like for Young Lion matches, that sets the table for the live audience, and they see this is like the basic structure of professional wrestling. So that when you do the insane shit later in the show, you're escalating for it. You're not just going, oh, I've been, the first match on the fucking show was the TLC ladder match or whatever. Right. So all of this is the same to me.
Right.
But yeah, you're correct that it's kind of a totally different equation when you're talking about American television wrestling.
Yeah, and when you're talking about, you're putting a guy you are, as Mike was saying, you're putting out there as a big star. It's not the same as putting, I don't even know who the new Young Lions are, but I'm gonna, say it's, Sho Tanaka and fucking Katsuya Kitamura. You're not putting them out there. Like, you're putting Christian, who is wearing a shirt that says "outwork everyone." He's supposed to be like a fucking, well, I guess they're trying to say that's more of like he works hard, not that he's like a super worker.
But it's something also that, like, if you would take basically this match, this opener, which, by the way, when you commit 20 minutes to that on a wrestling TV show, that's just not just committing 20 minutes to it, because you're also committing the commercial breaks, you're committing like all of this to it. So your variable thing, it's not taking a sixth of your show, it's closer to a fifth or maybe even a quarter of your show with this kind of thing, just with that. But you could do, you brought up Zack Sabre Jr., but you can do technical matches with people who are skilled technicians, and people can watch them and be like, wow, they are trading holds. Or if they come in from like a UFC background and maybe it's something where like they see Tay Conti do ring work, and you're like, oh no, she's a judoka, that makes sense to see her do this. But with this, well, what it was is it just really came across as just like, oh, we're eating time on a pay-per-view with this opener, which should be a thing that you're using to start your television show, and it's cutting up a whole lot of time here on this program. And then the whole like, maybe it's something where like the Cody and the QT thing, because the angle was so strong afterwards, I was like, okay. And I think everyone who was kind of watching it was waiting for the angle that, like, that kind of flippant comment, I didn't remember it happened. Aaron, when you had this in the show notes, I was like, oh, this happened, okay. But it just kind of was washed over at this, but I just can't abide by just, like, how they've, just this whole entire, like, madness around Christian is something that just, we talk about over-promising and under-delivering, and I might be alone on this, but it feels like that they've course-corrected their way into under-delivering with Christian in a way that, it's just their own failing, I would say.
Okay, I have 3 points. We'll see if I can remember the third one by the time I'm done with the first one. It's gonna be hard. So, Aaron, I agree with you that a lot of time this was not a technical match. Like you would, Zack Sabre Jr. shows that it's possible to have exciting technical matches. I do think so. People do for sure go and say, "Oh, what a technical match," which is code for that was a match I liked, even though they didn't do any exciting high spots and flips and shit. I think that's maybe a little underrating Kaz's offense a little bit, because he did like a flux capacitor in this match, kind of a cool flip move. He has a cool leg drop. He has some cool offensive spots. I have no interest in Kaz as like a character whatsoever. Like, could not be less interested in the guy as like my gimmick is that I'm old and angry or whatever. But like his spots are not like boring technical spots. Like, oh, I have like a couple of pretty cool spots. On the subject of under delivering with Christian, I think this would have been better if one, it had been 5 minutes shorter, and two, if Kaz took 70% of the match and then won. And then the story that you tell is, oh, Christian has been off for literally 7 years, and is not, in fighting ring shape. And wow, he sure withstood a bunch of good moves from Kaz and put up his best fight. But you can see he just doesn't have the gas in the tank to win this match, because that's what the story of the match was to me as I was watching it. Right? Like Christian kind of looking his age and being a step behind Kaz, who's no spring chicken. It's like, oh, that's a more interesting story to me, which is like Christian not being the all-time great, Hall of Fame worker here in this match, but being a guy who's been out of the ring for 7 years and is old and is trying to recapture one last bit of glory or whatever is a better story to me. And I don't know, maybe that would have been contrary to Mike's point about undervaluing him, but I think that's kind of a more interesting story. And I did forget the third point that I knew I was going to.
Yeah. Well,
I counted now with my fingers. Like when I get to the third finger, I'm going to remember it's about this, and I couldn't do it.
Everybody's so scared of that story, though, right? Like I think back to that, John Cena gets crushed by Brock Lesnar, and then like the next week he's beating up like the Wyatts, I think, or whatever.
Yeah.
And like even the Julia thing in Stardom, it's like, oh, she loses this big match and they shave her head, but then they just make her fucking look cool and like do cool stuff. It's like nobody wants to just have the person who gets humbled and has to like take some time to build up. But that is a more interesting story.
Well, I could tell you of one promotion that's doing this.
Well,
and that is...
Mike, I don't watch Dragon Gate. I'm sorry.
I remember.
Unless you're going to tell me it's MLW.
I remember.
Well, MLW has done its own thing. Very interesting. They leave one relationship by having someone leave the show in a body bag, and then immediately the next segment later announce a new relationship with that person's former company. Just kind of interesting. But no, I was going to make a Dragon Gate reference about Big R Shimizu deciding to become masked and become a comedy wrestler and having to rebuild himself. But yeah,
I think
whatever.
This match is ideal for like a pay-per-view opener of like 12 to 14 minutes, exactly for the reasons I talked about why Young Lion matches are good. It sets the table for the rest of the show. And like I've complained about with pay-per-views, I want the biggest matches at the end of the show. The first match on a pay-per-view, I want to be walking in, I want to be giving, a drink to my guests or whatever, or grabbing snacks and not paying my full attention. So that's why I think this kind of match is like not great for a first match on American wrestling television, maybe, but for a table setter on a pay-per-view, I think is great because then you build to more exciting things. And then the main event is the most exciting.
Yeah, my main thing was just like, I'm just irritated. I mean, all the tweets of like,
my main thing is that I'm mad at tweets.
They really slowed down and, worked holds. And it's like, you fucking sound like Jim Cornette. Like, if you'd like that, that's fine. But saying it that way just makes you sound like
I will say, when like Christian put on a side headlock, and I was like, oh, Christian's side headlocks looks better than most of the other people's side headlocks. So I noticed that. That's like, oh, he's good at doing that. He's a veteran. You can see that. But it's still kind of just a side headlock.
Yeah, but exactly. It's like, yeah, who fucking cares? I mean, great, congratulations. Anyway. Okay. Well, you know what would make Christian look better? He shaved that fucking beard. That's all I'm saying. And a good place to go if you want to shave your beard. We have some support for this show, for Everything Elite, brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. And I hate to, in our first read, disagree with our friends at Manscaped, but of course, lots of people need to groom below the waist. You don't have to be a man to groom below the waist, so don't feel left out if you're listening to the show and you want to groom below the waist with Manscaped, because they have precision-engineered tools that you can use, and all you need is the code. This is my favorite code that we've ever had on this show. And it'll get you 20% off and free shipping. You just use the code THISIS at manscaped.com. They have sent me, and I believe they've sent Nate and Mike also, the Lawnmower 3.0, folks.
Oh yeah, got all the goodies, got all the ointments and tinctures as well.
Right. That's right.
Which are very exciting when they show up at your door.
The crop preserver.
The crop preserver, the meat tenderizer, is that one of them?
I don't know. Maybe. I want to put over the crop preserver. I have used this, and it does. It gives you, it feels good. Although here's the problem with the crop preserver. I go to the bathroom. I pull my thing out to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh man, it smells good down there.
Making me put on the explicit tag for this show.
This is your problem. So, this just furthers the theory of the starters / Everything Elite shared universe here, because the starters do the same thing on their ad reads. We're halfway through, they're like, oh, no, I'm gonna point out some problems and some issues I've had with it.
Well, it's not a problem. I mean, it's a positive thing, but it's just like, it's always on my mind because it's a nice smell that look, usually it's a bad sign if you pull your thing out and you smell something. Okay, in this particular situation, it's a good sign because you know that you're preserving.
You're preserving, and it gives you a little pep in your step because you're like, when I walk out of here, my wife is going to smell my crop preserver.
That's right. And it's like, I was using it a little because I was having a little chafing, and it has helped with that. It has fixed my chafing problem I was having. So that's my personal thing about the crop preserver. The Lawnmower 3.0, also great. Comes in the brand new Perfect Package 3.0. Everything you need to keep yourself trimmed. And of course, all the other products that we talked about. And they're going to throw in free gifts if you buy the Perfect Package. So head on over to manscaped.com. Use the code THISIS. Get 20% off plus free shipping. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Your balls will thank you.
And our balls thank you as well.
Our balls will really thank you. It's a great way to support the show is to use the codes that we give you during the show. All right, did I do the listener delete? I did not. Full Metal Praxis deletes himself for being such a mark that he loves Jericho again after one good angle.
I did. They did that angle. We're not supposed to talk about it in detail. No. But I think Jericho brought like a new facial hair element to the equation, I think.
Yeah.
And I kind of looked at it and went, God damn it, he's done it again. I think Chris Jericho's successfully repackaged himself again.
In record time too.
This son of a bitch.
Usually it's like 6 months later, but yeah, he was looking insane. It was great.
All right, let off, folks, with Christian Cage versus Frankie Kazarian. Christian won with the kill switch. I think we've run that one into the ground. There was a Darby and Sting video. Darby talking to Matt Hardy. He says, "The truth is, your body's breaking down. You don't know if you got it anymore." This is a little scary because he could have been talking to Sting, right? So, weird video. Or Christian Cage. He said, "You used to influence younger wrestlers, but now you try to buy them. But you can't buy respect. You have to earn it. Your money doesn't mean shit to me."
This was good. These video packages are a better way to play up this Sting and Darby relationship than the repetitive in-ring segments that they were doing. And Darby does a great job of like crystallizing this storyline so we can just get an idea of what Hardy stands for and what Darby stands for. So good pro wrestling.
Yeah, and it was incredibly effective because about 45 seconds, 1 full minute, 60 seconds, everything's laid out here, and we have a good starting line for a new feud, I guess, Darby and Sting versus the Hardy family office, or Darby versus Matt Hardy. I thought it was incredibly effective.
Then we got a video with Jade Cargill. A lot of videos on the show. Another of my deletes was going to be just the pacing on this show, but
I love this pacing.
Too much shit for me. Jade says, "You were shook. You knew when you first saw me that I have it. I look like money. I talk like money." She does something else like money that I didn't grab. And when TK booked me, I got that money. But she says, "I know you're mad. You can't be me because I am that bitch."
Is this the tweet that you were talking about? I'll say my tweet and then you tell me if it was the one you were thinking of.
Okay.
I said, look, good Jade promo. I like Jade's promos are pretty solid. They do nice little hype packages around them. I don't care if she cuts the best hype package promo in the world. It's not going to be as good as her going out there every week and just killing some girl in 3 minutes. Like,
yes,
that's just not killing someone's going to be a better way to get hype behind her.
That actually was the tweet I was thinking about because I enjoyed. Oh, yeah, because Mike was talking about how they could have brought her out and she could have destroyed Red Velvet when she's like, saving Cody. That also would have been effective. But as you pointed out, I think it would have been even more effective to just, do a match where she kicks somebody's ass. All right, then we got the QT Marshall versus Cody exhibition match that fell apart when the Nightmare Family exploded. We got Mr. Freak Beast, Nick Komoroto, Anthony Ogogo, and Aaron Solo on Team QT. They're about to kill Cody, but Red Velvet intervened. Then we got the Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page video. Dasha with Red Velvet asked about protecting Cody. Jade kicks her ass. There's a Mox video. He says he can't get the crunch out of his head from when the Good Brothers attacked Eddie's ankle. He's pissed off about a lot of things, and the Bucks can't even decide whether to get in the fight. He takes off his shirt, which SB enjoyed. I have to just be honest with everyone. She asked if he could take his pants off next. Just as we're like sitting on the couch on a Wednesday night. Insane.
SB rules. Sarah rules.
She says, now they want to put me in the ring with Cesar Bononi. He looks like a Baywatch lifeguard. They could really make some money with him. I bet Patrick Cosmos hated that line. But they won't be able to if I kill him. And that led into Jon Moxley versus Cesar Bononi, where I got to say, Cesar really slowed down, took his time in this match, sold Mox's offense, just like a real veteran. But unfortunately, Mox won with the head and arm choke.
I'll say that I will never join the Bone Zone, but Cesar Bononi wasn't as bad in a 15-minute match, what felt like a 15-minute match, as how bad he was against Adam Page. Like, I felt like this was something that, he's going to be around, and he's kind of learning on the job if you think about it, and having getting put into these kind of circumstances. I mean, I think we've seen how it's gone for him so far, but he is very funny because we talked about all the heaters they have. The idea that he's the heater for Peter Avalon, Hot Young Briley, and JD Drake when JD Drake's standing right there just cracks me up.
Super weird, stable. I don't, I guess if you're going to have a guy who doesn't seem to be very good be a job guy, like, I guess it makes sense for him to be physically impressive, because you can be like, oh, Jon Moxley beat that monster. I'm just going to shout out these tweets by Bix, who sort of gave us the lay of the land on Cesar Bononi, that Cesar Bononi, of course, late of the Performance Center. Vic says WWE used his work visa to control him, refused to sponsor green cards for he and his wife. His wife was not allowed to work under the visa that she got in the U.S., and then fired Cesar Bononi, quote, hung him out to dry when a global pandemic and economic depression hit. And then so AEW basically saving the day and getting this guy employment in the U.S. So he doesn't have to uproot his life in the middle of this pandemic after living in this country for 5 whatever years. And then seemingly, we're able to pull some strings or whatever to get his, I think, sister-in-law an emergency visa to try and get her life-saving procedure, which I guess has been additionally delayed by the pandemic now. But, I guess that's just the context that I'm now going to bring to every Cesar Bononi match in this promotion.
I mean, I have nothing but empathy for him and sympathy for him, and I think it's a genuine, travesty how basically he was controlled by his green card sponsor and have like this, and it's great that AEW has taken ownership and has helped out, but he's gonna be learning on the job. I mean, he's had a dozen televised NXT matches, and he's not like a prodigy like Ty Conti who just snapped to it and started to get it. So I mean, it's something where I'll be interested in seeing how the Bone Zone develops over the next few months, seeing that now he is a featured wrestler in the promotion.
Yeah, I don't know. He's very bad at wrestling, but he's also very funny at wrestling. So
great look.
I think they should book him like 911 in ECW where he never wrestles, but maybe JD Drake just rides to the ring on his shoulders, and then
that's good.
Once every few weeks he comes in and choke slams somebody. That's what they should do with him.
I feel myself being pulled toward the Bone Zone. I'm just going to be honest with everyone. I feel it happening. I want to resist it, but I may be unable to resist it. I just want everyone to know. Nothing? No reaction to that? I thought Nate had a reaction, but...
Just disappointment. You feel like you know someone across over 118 episodes, close to 200 hours of audio, but they have to tell you that they have their bone card.
WWE at least could have taught this motherfucker how to wrestle if they were going to treat it like shit. But
they don't know how to do that.
They didn't even do that.
They're not capable.
I mean, when their top rookie is a former athlete that they basically had to plan through matches, and people are acting like it's some great success, you got a broken system. Then
it's true.
Triple Tuesday and his failed 9-figure succession plan.
It's bad. So yeah,
is this the last week with NXT on Wednesday?
Yeah. This is the
next
last
week.
Oh
next week. Yeah, because next week is when they're going to be doing the 2-night takeover, finger quotes, where the first night is on Wednesday. And then the next night is on Peacock on Thursday.
I see. Sneaky. Tony should do some sort of obnoxious celebration on the show. Or he should at least make a snarky comment about it in his weird heel persona that he does on Impact Wrestling.
I'm trying to come up with T-cock. It's not working.
Nope. That should have stayed in the workshop. Nope.
I don't even know what you're going for.
TK... But Peacock is what I was trying to come up with something.
Why?
I don't know, man.
For what reason?
I don't know. Team Taz. I'm just going to move on. Team Taz backstage. Ricky says he had a great time at Dark last night. It felt like the old Team Taz. But he wants to hear what Cage thought. Cage looking, a little, I don't know, irritated over there. He says that's a first.
He's looking a little... unit dissension playbook A.
Yeah, of course. He says that's a first. And anybody wants to hear what he thinks. So I thought maybe you would tag me in sooner. We would have gotten the win sooner. Taz tries to calm things down. He says everything's fine with Team Taz. And then he says no one can stop the path of rage. Is this a thing that I've missed?
No one can stop the path of Cage.
I know that, but he's now just started saying rage instead of Cage.
Maybe they're bringing in the Silent Rage.
They should bring
Anthony Levine is in Daly's place.
That'd be huge.
They should bring in Quiet Storm, frankly.
Quiet Storm and Silent Rage should be a team in AEW.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm trying to remember what his tag team partner was, because Quiet Storm did have a tag team partner in the Northeast Indies before he moved to Japan.
Somebody for sure posted an old magazine photo of them, like within the last week or something.
Oh, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. Like, Quiet Storm just has like, that's the body type that we need more in wrestling, is more Quiet Storm.
The Pinnacle is backstage. They're in the dressing room. They brought in a personal Pinnacle stylist who's just a guy with some fabric swatches on like a little fold-out thing, like the guy who comes to your office and tries to sell you suits.
This is because you buried their suits last week.
Well, yeah, they need a guy, but a better guy than this guy.
I got to tell you, you buried their suits last week, and now they got a fashion stylist in there to consult. I also talked and complained at length on this show about the Inner Circle, going from violent clowns to mostly just clowns. And now that's MJF's whole shit. Is he doesn't want to do the comedy sketches. He just wants to bring the violence, and that's what we got here.
Yeah, he was gonna see. I can't tell this part because Hogan will be mad at me. But just trust me that a thing happened and it led to a big brawl between the Inner Circle and. It
was a good brawl. Okay, you should go watch it. It was a really good segment.
Yeah.
I agree.
It was well done, and it's something that I wanted to ask y'all. With this thing has been looming for the last 12 months. Is this the future Blood and Guts match? Because it's starting.
Dexter looming.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing art, outside the ring, being the host for.
Aaron Bentley's really going to give me a side eye. Like, he didn't say teacock a minute ago.
I know, but I expect better out of you, Nate.
I just wanted to think about Dexter Loomis.
Alex Marvez. Chris Jericho put the Inner Circle logo outside the dressing room at the end, so he has reclaimed the dressing room. Alex Marvez is with the Young Bucks. He asked what's going on with them and Kenny. The Bucks say they don't want to talk about that. So Callis, I was kind of confused by this, but he told somebody to leave, and then Alex Marvez and Nick Jackson both left. Matt stayed. Callis said, I love Kenny Omega. I thought you did too, but you broke his heart last week. He chose you and your brother. He made a choice based on family, and instead you chose to leave him laying bleeding in the ring. What's wrong with you? Matt slaps Don Callis, grabs his jacket, but stops himself. And Callis says, that's it, eh? Which I enjoyed. And he said, is there anything inside you at all? All right.
They did what they meant to do here.
Yeah. No, this checked all the boxes. Don Callis is someone that's very hit or miss, but this was probably his better promo in the promotion, I would say. So I thought this was effective.
I think it's cool because it's like, it's a different twist on this, right? Where Callis is the heel, but he is like poking, because they were doing this thing about like, oh, you're not as good. You're not doing as good as you're supposed to be, about like being a tag team when they're the fucking champions. But now he's like flipped that a little bit. And he's just like, don't you feel things? Like, isn't there anything going on? And don't you have like a core, a center? And I just think that's like a much cooler thing, especially coming from a heel. Like, I think it's good.
It is. It's a little refreshing just to see the babyface understand that they get more if they show like some weakness and be like, yeah, no, the heel's got a point. I am being cowed in this moment or whatever. And I'm not just being the, pure white meat babyface who's just going to rise above and win all the time or whatever. But instead, like, no, I should have an arc where it's like, yeah, no, we do have to change something about what we're doing in order to overcome this obstacle. That's good. And this is, they communicated that in a pretty brief segment here. So yeah, it did what they meant to do.
The trios match is next. Omega and the Good Brothers versus the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid. Omega pinned Laredo Kid with the one-winged angel. After the match, Mox came out. Then the Bucks came out. The three of them ran off. Omega and the Good Brothers setting up a match for next week. Rebel interviewed Britt. Britt was giving us the hard sell for Elevation on Monday nights. She said she saw Thunder Rosa is on the card, which is good for her because she needs to get her wins up since her biggest win ever wasn't even sanctioned. It didn't even count.
Great heel stance here. Just awesome.
It was good. Nyla Rose and the Bunny versus Hikaru Shida and Tai Conti. And of all the finishes to this match, I would not have guessed the Bunny would pin Tai Conti.
Yeah, but maybe not what I would have chosen to do. I don't think it's really a problem, but it seems like everybody's all in on Tai Conti right now. I just like have her beat the Bunny, who you just brought back, This
Mhm.
is kind of like the Christian thing. Like, you just brought them back. You can beat them. It's okay to beat them in this moment.
Yeah, and it's something where I did like the idea of how she's angry that she was left out of the Eliminator tournament, and that's part of her justification here. And with the Hardy family office, it makes sense there. It's just one of those things that interesting direction. I think it's interesting kind of path that they're starting to take, whereas it seems like that they've been really getting solid behind Ty lately, and kind of unexpected result there.
I think everybody knows I just don't like the gets pinned in a tag match, wins in a singles match booking. That's just not booking I enjoy. Doesn't make sense to me. So I'm sure she's going to beat her, and then she's going to, she's already, it's also weird because she's already beaten Nyla. So it's like, isn't Nyla the top boss in that team or whatever? So it's kind of weird.
I do like that they had it kind of seemed busy, but I did also like that they tied in the Hardy versus Dark Order thing here and had, all the people out at ringside and shit. Just give it a little more juice for me. And, I like when there's dynamic interplay between these stories where it's like, yeah, Ty is climbing the rankings and maybe she's going to be next up for Hikaru Shida, but she's also got this issue because the Dark Order is feuding with the Hardy family office. So just a good mixture of a lot of different sort of variables in play.
We got some comments from Jurassic Express, because they announced a match with them versus Bear Country for next week. They said, this is the second time you've thrown Marco Stunt around. In honor of Godzilla versus Kong, we're going to show you who's on the top of the food chain. And then they unveiled that Marco has a King Kong tattoo on his forearm.
Very excited for the Godzilla versus Kong product placement match. Huge get for AEW.
Love that synergy. Love being on the Max Live.
The Arcade Anarchy match was the main event. Miro and Kip Sabian versus Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy. Chuck pinned Kip Sabian with a running power slam through the stage, another through the stage spot in like the last 6 weeks on AEW. And as we said during the match, Penelope was fucking with Aubrey, but Chris Stat back to attack Penelope. And then, Sue pulled up in the van and Trent came out. So the whole band is back together.
I heard some banter that Sammy Guevara vlog was taking the lead in booking the promotion over BTE, but that does not pay the proper respect to all the groundwork they laid with Chris Statlander being in love with Orange Cassidy on BTE, and week after week of segment, including Chris Statlander singing a Disney-ass love song to Orange Cassidy while he was asleep. All that and more on the EE Patreon, where I talk about these vlogs and get bored halfway through and talk about old people from school that I vaguely remember.
That's the hard sell, folks. It's patreon.com/everythingelite. Make sure you check it out. As I said, it's a new month by the time you're listening to this, if you're not a live listener. So it's a great time to sign up. We've got 3 tiers to sign up on. They're all good. The main difference is the $5 tier gets you all of our audio, but the $8 tier gets you the live show on Wednesday night. So that's the main reason to subscribe to that. But we'll also follow you on Twitter if that appeals to you in any real way. This week on the Patreon, Nate and I reviewed Austin Gunn's rap album. How'd you enjoy that, Nate?
Don't
say what you enjoyed about the album. That's Patreon
gotta pay
content.
for that. Goddamn.
Yeah.
It was, we use it as an entry point just to talk about our general media diets. Now that we do these shows live right after the show, they're like late in the evening. So it's a little more of an ask for us to do bizarre tangents about other things that we like talking about. So you kind of get a lot of that content on the Patreon.
Yes, if you like us doing weird stuff, then there's a lot of that to be found on the Patreon. We also did Light this week, where it's usually Mike and I previewing Dynamite and talking about Dark and Elevation, but I was on assignment this week. Mike handled it by his lonesome, and then Nate, of course, bats cleanup by giving us the vlog recaps.
Yeah, no, it was we usually break down the show and talk about, because there's so much now, Dark and Elevation content. We kind of pick a couple matches to talk about each time, and it's a good way to start your Wednesday, and if it's something on your lunch break, to kind of get you hyped up for Dynamite on Wednesday night.
That's right. And this month, we have our Discord, of course, so make sure you come join the Discord. Mike Spears, is that a Spears X Spears or just a Spears?
Drew talked me into it. I was not planning on doing this, but we're probably going to have some sort of indie WrestleMania weekend show in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so look forward to that. I've been talking with a very special guest. You might have saw, I did this tweet asking for recommendations of the best modern death matches. So I talked on the show a few weeks ago about liking, maybe I just want to be a deathmatch guy. So somebody reached out to me, would be a first-time Patreon guest, and asked that we do a show about this where we get recommendations, we watch some death matches and talk about them. So that's in the hopper. Maybe we can get that out in April, and we got plenty of other stuff. So patreon.com/everythingelite. Check it out. Next week on Dynamite, Jon Moxley and the Young Bucks versus Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. The Bunny versus Ty Conti. The TNT title will be on the line. Darby Allin versus JD Drake. Okay, who tweeted EE
Me.
Pod offer match? Okay.
I did.
You didn't sign that one, so wasn't sure. I thought for a second, I think Aaron Taub still has access to our account. I was like, did Aaron Taub do this?
If he does, he has not made it clear or made me aware of it. But he did tweet something very similar immediately after, I think. But I had the screenshot. That was quick.
Yeah, that was quick. And what else is on the show? The Inner Circle will return next week, and Jurassic Express versus Bear Country.
It occurs to me that JD Drake's like in this company now. Our Twitter account might have an additional AEW roster member follower.
Yeah, I know JD Drake follows me. I think he also follows the
All right
podcast.
We're
does.
Getting up there. We're at 3 or 4 now, I think.
Ethan Page definitely does not follow us.
No,
sure.
And none of the other ones DM us scoops anyway. So it's like, what fucking good is it? But
no, it's weird. Sometime after AT and I put Gabe on blast, the DM scoops just dried up. I don't know what happened. I don't know what
I was going to say, after you put them on blast, they started to roll on in like wildfire. It's like when Amazon starts posting through it on Twitter, and then all of a sudden everybody starts leaking all of their employee mistreatment stories to the Intercept.
We did get a few more. I don't know how much longer the show. I don't have a good sense of time at this point, but yeah, not a lot of people reaching out to us with the scoops, but when we do, baby, we put them on patreon.com/everythingelite.
Gotta say,
a little
annoyed by how good you're getting at the segues now. They're becoming actually good, and I'm annoyed about it.
All right, well, I'll try to make them worse. And then on April 9th, there will be a house show. The house always wins. Apparently, there will be no way to watch this unless you're live in person. It's going to have Cody Rhodes versus Ethan Page, which, thank God, there's no way for me to watch that. Brandon Cutler versus Death Triangle, Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa versus the Sydal Brothers, and a TNT title match. Darby Allin will be in action.
I think Kenny Omega needs to make Impact Wrestling give Michael Nakazawa a push. I think if Kenny's going to go spend so much time there, and he's going to headline their first show on Thursday nights to try and give them some sort of juice since they are dying in the ratings. I think he needs to go and throw his weight around and say, I'm not coming unless you give Michael Nakazawa the X Division title. I think that would make Impact worth watching.
All right. Well, I think that's everything. I think we've talked about it all for this week. So make sure you're following us on Twitter at Everything AEW. I'm at Aaron Like the Car. Nate's at Epitasis. Mike is at Fuji Heya. Subscribe to the podcast. Give us a 5-star rating and a review if you use the Apple Podcast app. And if you want to support the show, the best ways to do that are to go to patreon.com/everythingelite and sign up. Use the promo code ELITE on mybookie.ag and use the promo code THISIS on manscaped.com. So thanks everybody for listening. For Mike, for Nate, I'm Aaron. We'll see you next week.